Well, Dick Cheney has been dropping major hints as to what may be happening over sometime over the next several years, maybe sooner or later, I'm not sure. But he says, yeah, sometime definitely within the next 10 years. Actually, I was looking at a clip from the Hewitt show. He was recently on. He says that there will be an attack on America within the next decade worse than 9/11. Now, that could be in the next decade, not necessarily 10 years from now, but 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I don't know. But coming from this guy, the man of no heart, basically, this is the way I look at this guy. This guy basically, if I only had a heart, you remember he had that mechanical heart? Now, I'm not just saying this to be mean to this guy, because this guy really is cold. He's a cold guy. I don't, actually, those two up there, George Bush was almost remind me of the Scarecrow with if I only had a brain, and Dick Cheney if I only had a heart, right? So that's what it reminds me of. But anyway, if you remember some of the stuff that went on, like, hey, torture? What torture? We don't know nothing about any kind of torture. Or even that plan that they supposedly had to dress up Navy SEALs as Iranians or something like that and fire upon Americans and then start a war or some garbage. These guys don't even know how to do a false flag, for crying out loud. That's what's scary about them, because I think half the time they're boozing and carousing around in their off time. So, as we know what happened with that hunting accident, right? Ready, fire, aim, right? The Dick Cheney Hunting Club, if you recall that, when he had that hunting accident, I think he was, my personal opinion was he was drunk. Just like pretty much everybody out there in the government. But with Putin, he don't like that. He's not like that. He says, unlike Dick Cheney, I shoot to kill, They're all bad guys, though. I have to tell you this. They're all bad guys. But Dick Cheney, I'm just stating that you got to take this serious. When it comes from this guy, Dick Cheney, about talking about warning, quote unquote, warning America about something that happened in the near future. Now, I just want to warn people about this. The giddy, garbage-controlled opposition media that gets people all wrapped around different things in the wrong fashion. But, it's almost like they get everybody fear-mongering. And, I'm not pushing this, but I'm just stating that it's very important when it comes from this guy. This is the guy that, denied all the torture, allegedly set up all these other false flags. And he's in there with the, I don't know. When he talks about, this is like this is Building 7 here. The one that the plane did not hit. If you have a brain, you can figure, like, if a building's falling that fast, right, and a plane didn't hit it, and this was like the best construction going, and you can see how it actually makes a dent in the middle, like when it falls. That's a controlled implosion. It was demolished, right? So he's saying that we could have another event bigger than this, and this event, it's, I know, yeah, planes hit the other buildings, but no plane hit World Trade Center 7. And you know what happened when this building collapsed? There was a lot of one-time records and investigations that also disappeared in the implosion. So, but I want to get on to something else, because, this is a good uniform and attire for this robot guy, because, I have to tell you some other things that are actually going on besides his famous hunting club, because, let's get back to the National Security Act 1947. And I'll just take this right from, this is straight from public domain, Wikipedia. I'm not going to even delve into, like, what, the biggest rumor monger sites and, scare the hell out of you sites are talking about. But basically, this has been around for a long time. National Security Act of 1947. And this goes along with what Eisenhower said, because what Dick Cheney's talking about is continuity of government in the event of an attack that's worse than 9/11. So what that means is, I don't want to get the drama up here too much, but just like, you got to realize it's a real danger and not be like a deer staring at the headlights and, fan the flames of drama and all this garbage. Just recognize that this is a serious potential problem, especially when Dick Cheney's talking about it. You got to consider the source, him. This guy's been known, in my opinion, for a lot of bad stuff. So anyway, this is about the National Security Act of 1947. You're saying, yeah, 1947. Wow, that's like 70 years ago. What are you talking about? But let me put it to you this way. It's still applicable, and there's other laws that are built upon this. I want to get into this. Basically, it says the act merged the Department of War. They renamed it and Department of Navy into the National Military Establishment. A lot of times people don't understand that, headed by the Secretary of Defense. It also created the Department of Air Force, right? So that into its own service. So that they had was, though, the big thing, though, about it, besides the military reorganization, it established a National Security Council. Remember, that's domestic security and also against foreign enemies. So they got a lot of power. But the other thing is, here's a big catch to this. The council, the National Security Council, is to advise the president on domestic, foreign, and military policies. Domestic, not just military policies, not just foreign policies, but domestic policies. So if you have a continuity of government, if you look at any president, I mean, pretty much they're all like handpicked by somebody in the elite. But even if they weren't, it would be actually this National Security Council that would be the military junta that would be running the deal, right? So I'm going to get on to something else here. This is about continuity of government. And basically, the principle has always been around before and even during World War II to counter the threat of problems from, basically it came about in Britain from the bombing from the Luftwaffe. But in the U.S., at least, continuity of government is no longer limited to nuclear emergencies. Now, this is not coming from a conspiracy. This is coming off the most, mainstream Wikipedia. Okay, it's not even coming off. I'm not exaggerating anything. I'm not trying to play fearmonger. I'm just telling you, Dick Cheney used this word, continuity of government, just recently in his interview about an attack, and I just showed you the Building 7, September 11th, 2001. No plane hit it. The whole thing was a setup. You don't think that was a controlled implosion. And you got to remember what Larry Silverstein says. Yeah, we had to pull the building, because all the fire and they left all the office furniture in there and everything. Didn't even gut the building. They just blew it up. And how long does it take to? Well, I don't even want to get into that because it's so ludicrous. It's so obvious. It's ridiculous. But anyway, he goes. This is like straight off. This is like really mainstream stuff, but I think a lot of people don't even understand this mainstream stuff. You don't need to get into the drama to realize the danger to our freedoms by this. In the U.S., at least, continuity of government is no longer limited to nuclear emergencies. That's a big caveat there. So in other words, if we have a major terrorist attack, we got another government going, continuity of government, I don't know. The continuity of government, the continuity of operations plans was activated following the September 11th, 2001 attacks and have been in effect ever since. So, that's one part of the reason behind the 2001 9/11 attacks. It gives government a hell of a lot more power, like along with the Patriot Act, which you're also familiar with. But also, I want to get into this, the Money Laundering Act. This preceded the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act built upon this. And this is actually coming from Reagan's times, 1986. And it's also, even during, this is where I get in where I'm neither a liberal or a conservative, because these conservatives will follow around Ronald Reagan like he was the greatest hero in the world because he talked the line, but he did not actually do what he actually said. For his speech making, he was really great. As far as what he actually did, I don't know. Is a totally different thing. But, the conservatives are like, you're lame, man. I mean, both liberals and conservatives are lame, in my opinion. So I don't get political on this garbage. But anyway, this was even during Reagan's time. So, maybe I don't like Obama. Maybe I don't like Hillary Clinton. I don't, okay? And I just don't like all of them because they're all trying to get more and more power to the central elite. Well, the Money Laundering Act of 1986 it made money laundering a federal crime for the first time. It was passed in 1986, right? So, anyway, this is the first time the United States criminalized money laundering. So, basically prohibited business people from engaging in financial transactions with proceeds that were generated from certain specific crimes known as specified unlawful activities. But additionally, the law required that the individual specifically intend to make the transaction to conceal the source and control of the funds. But the Patriot Act further extended this exponentially. So every time there's an attack on the United States, which wasn't an attack, it was an inside job, they actually caused Americans to lose a lot more freedom. Now look at this. This is from 1986. Now this can also even go along with your gold, your silver, and all your metals, and anything else you try to store, whether it's food or whatever. There's no minimum threshold of money, nor there's a requirement that the transaction succeed in actually disguising the money. Moreover, a financial transaction has been broadly defined. So in other words, if you're doing barter, that could be a financial transaction. So if you're doing barter, are you money laundering, right? This is from 1986. This precedes by many years the 2001 Patriot Act. And so it need not involve a financial institution or even a business. So there's a lot of different ways they can nail you with this garbage. You see what I mean? And this is what's going on. Well, we all know what's going on in Dick Cheney's hunting club. Well, the only thing I could say that's hopeful for these jerks is to give them plenty of booze so they don't know what the hell's going on, because this guy I would never want to go hunting with. I know they talked about this, and I really don't, but because I look at it like this, I realize this is one mean guy. I always picked up on this with this guy. This is one mean guy, and that's one reason I don't like, I don't like conservatives or liberals. Liberals are wishy-washy, conservatives are flat-out mean. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that's kind of like my opinion on the deal. But he actually talked about, and also with this continuity of government, it's, we're talking about the deep underground bases, like in Moscow. This isn't in Moscow. This is actually in Russia. Though they have a lot of deep underground bases. They've been making them since the early 60s. They probably got more than we got in the United States, for all I know. And, the thing is, if there's ever some nuclear conflagration or something, it's all going to be on us, the people. And it's going to be the robots that are going to be taking over. Dick Cheney, the man of no heart, because I don't know where, that's another thing. I know he used to have the mechanical heart. And, it's like, I don't wish him like death or something like exactly. But I'm saying is, it's like, he had the mechanical heart, and you're almost thinking, wow, he does have a mechanical heart. Then he got a human heart, and you're wondering how did he got first to the line? And all the doctors will say, oh, no, he didn't get any special treatment. Yeah, right. You know how many people are waiting for a heart, and this guy jumped in there and got it right away? Yeah. Anyway, so he's talking about another, 911. Oh, worse than 911. So just remember what 911 was about. This is the building that didn't get hit by the plane, right? So without getting into any kind of conspiracy theory, come on, man. Does that look like it just kind of like, you know what? If the building actually fell like that due to faulty construction, or let's say the ground got weakened because the other planes fell down or something like that. That's what they say, right? It's another thing they say. Well, would it fall like that? Come on, man. Would it fall like that even if the ground was weakened? They had a fire in 3 offices. Would it fall like this? So it's quite. I knew this from day one, though, for crying out loud, with 911. But he says there's going to be something else coming up, and he's talking about continuity of government. So basically, the National Security Council, headed by this guy here, or somebody like him, some robot, is going to be actually running the show. So they can have the Constitution in effect in name, but you got to remember, it's government is force, and George Washington's words about, force, government is like fire. It's it's something dangerous when you're playing with it. You got to keep control of it. You got to keep control of the situation. You got to limit it. It's nothing but force. And actually, I'm going to post a link on in the information box, and you can look at this information. It was actually from Kathy O'Brien. You know, Kathy O'Brien not only had experiences allegedly with Hillary Clinton, it also went right across the aisle to the political aisle with Dick Cheney, and you can see what she had to say about Dick Cheney. So if she's legit or not, I don't know. You know, I got no way to verify that. But, you know, just a lot of stuff that I've seen and picked up about Dick Cheney. This is one mean guy, in my opinion, really mean. And I don't know. That's why I reject both conservatives and liberals, because conservatives are just too damn mean and liberals are too wishy-washy. But just beware. The whole point of this is that he's talking about there will be an attack on America within the next upcoming years, worse than 9/11, and that he says that there will be a continuity of government. But I just urge people not to get behind a false opposition, guys, because just, you know, I gave you information here off of like legit sources. I'm not trying to embellish it. I'm just telling you it is something to be concerned with when this guy very recently has stated this. Coming from him, that's a big deal. That is a big deal.